for me, like I love talking to franchisees. Today, my best part about not only spending time with you is I got to spend time with 2 franchisees on the way here, right?
Awesome.
I met them over at Panera. We had lunch. We went through their business plan. How can we grow? And I love that part. I mean, I'm here with you because I want to impact more kids. I want more franchisees to be successful, and I want to partner with you.
Yeah.
Like I'll put the work in. I love it.
Today's one of the best days, right? When you can hit all of that.
All of that.
And it's all relationship building.
Yeah.
Right? And partnerships. Welcome to Enrich Your Empire with Richie Huffman, the ultimate podcast for entrepreneurship, impactful wealth building, and effective team leadership. It's time to enrich your business and create a lasting legacy. Let's get to work. Hey guys, welcome back to Enrich Your Empire with Richie Huffman. Today I had Adam Geistler. Adam Geistler is a very unique story. Not only did Adam go from corporate position to entrepreneurship, but Adam actually became a franchisor with helping franchisees in a very similar path that we have here at Celebrity of helping children. But Adam took the path of helping children through becoming athletes. It was one of my best interviews because we shared so many similar values as CEOs. I hope you guys really enjoy this one. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Richie. Pleasure to meet you.
Awesome, brother. Awesome to meet you. I'm super excited about this because I feel like we're like kinder spirits here, like entrepreneurs, making it happen, started at the bottom and really have worked our way up. And I'm not saying we're at the top because we both know as entrepreneurs we never see ourselves at the top.
Yeah.
Right? So,
absolutely.
So let's start. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd this journey begin?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think about, where I am and how I got here. And I started out, being an athlete growing up in Arlington, Texas. And I was not the best athlete. I'd grade myself at a C at best. But I tried and I learned. But when I started out in my athletic career, I got thrown into soccer and nobody taught me what I was doing. I thought if I kicked the ball halfway down the field, I was doing something right. And I never learned the fundamentals of sport, and I wasn't exposed to different sports. But I loved what I was learning, and I loved just the activity and the camaraderie and the life skills, right, that we get from sports. And so that was my original journey. And kind of fast forward, when I graduated college, an opportunity to get into the business side of sports. And so I realized my athletic prowess was never taking me as far as I wanted to, but I loved being around the activity and just the business side of it. And so I spent probably about 20 years of my career in various different businesses. One was Everlast, a boxing brand. Another one, I partnered with an entrepreneur, a founder called Mission, where I just wanted to see what it was like to start something from almost zero. And then I was at a really big licensing company running their sports division. And I was learning my way through merchandising, licensing, sales, negotiations, all these different things, and also seeing the type of cultures I liked and what I didn't like. And I had this opportunity, and we'll talk about it, but to become an entrepreneur, much like yourself. But the difference for me was I realized I was an acquisition entrepreneur. I didn't have the ability to start something or the intestinal fortitude to start from zero.
Okay.
I really wanted to acquire something that was in a base that I could really see how to make greater, which is part of what I love about franchising, right? You have a base that gives somebody an opportunity to really accelerate and do something on their own. And that's what I found myself in this journey.
Did you feel as if you didn't have it, or did you feel like that was just maybe too risky for you?
Probably a little bit of risk. When I first had that opportunity early in life, I took a job, and I never could see myself just stepping away from a job and starting something from zero. But being an acquisition entrepreneur, I also found my strengths were just really making greater. I knew how to see something and see an opportunity to make it better. And so I had an opportunity to acquire soccer stars and amazing athletes with 3 other partners. And they were all built by these amazing founders. And we could see what they built was really good, but with our intellectual capital between all the things we had learned over the last 25, 30 years, we really found a way that we could scale these opportunities and have an impact in the youth sports space.
I love that. So let's go back a little ways, because I love to talk about how people go about going from working from someone or having a corporate job into entrepreneurship, because it's scary, and it can be scary unless you have grown up, and like in my case, grown up having a very entrepreneurial family. How did you tell me about that journey? I know you said you went to George Washington. You went to Everlast for a job.
Yep.
Tell me about, so now you're in this job, you just graduated, you're in this job. Like, tell us a little bit of how you go from working for from somebody until, like, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I think I always had the passion for it. So I always knew. I think of myself even when I was younger. I wanted to be a toy inventor, right? Not because like I was that good at figuring out how to build toys. It's just I had this imagination of I wanted to create something and build something. So I think I always had that drive. I just didn't know how to take it from point A to point B.
Got it.
And being at Everlast, I started out as their first marketing director in their 90-year history. And as I was there, I kept learning my way through the business. And I always treated my jobs as an opportunity to learn, a paid education. So I would sit in every meeting. I would ask every question. I was always a sponge, just learning the business. And after about 7 years, it got acquired. And I actually had the opportunity at the age of 30 to run that business. It was my dream job. I was president general manager of that brand. And it was originally, at the time when I came on, the CEO and founder of that business, he was a teacher, a school teacher who had gone through a very similar journey of he wanted to own his own business and build his own business, and he acquired it.
This is Everlast, right?
This is at Everlast.
Okay.
Later in life, he ended up being my father-in-law.
Yeah.
But I watched that journey of what he did, and I felt that's something that I could do. Just finding a really good opportunity that I could make my own, but it had kind of that base and that foundation.
So tell me how you went from, so I love that, right? Because regardless, you win.
Yeah.
If you're this sponge and you're taking it all in and you're curious, that's either going to help you prosper inside of a company, or it's just life learned lessons and knowledge that you can apply in a company or take it outside. So how'd you go from a sponge and taking all this business knowledge from Everlast and then starting your own?
Yeah, so what I did was I would always, before LinkedIn exists, I consider myself a human LinkedIn. I would always network. I didn't know where it would take me, but I would always try to meet people and just learn and just see what a connection could mean. And so there was this one gentleman, Blake Gower.
Who gave you that? Somebody gave you that.
Nobody gave me
Really?
that, yeah.
Normally that's something that, normally it's not something that you just, possess. Normally you see that demonstrated somewhere and you're like, yeah, that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Maybe it's from my parents or just a culture of just people that I surrounded myself with, but just having that desire to network, it just, to your point, wherever it came, I took it, right?
What did mom and dad do?
My dad used to work for Johnson & Johnson, career lifer employee. He was there for 35 years. My mom had in and out of different jobs, but a teacher in her early part of her career.
But they were very much into relationships and community and.
I'd say so. We grew up as in Texas as in a very tight knit Jewish community in an area where that really defined us. Not a lot of Jews growing up in Texas, and so I think for us, probably you're right. Probably there was a networking effect of just always meeting people and connecting with people that we just really learned at a young age.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm sorry because I think there's some right. I'm helping our listeners really discover whether entrepreneurship is for them. And going from a corporate job to entrepreneurship, if you're not used to seeing it or someone hasn't introduced it to you or you're not coming from an entrepreneur family, it's scary.
It's scary. My dad would never have taken that risk in a million years, right? But it was in me, and I felt it, but I didn't know how to maximize it. And so the CFO at Everlast at the time introduced me this young gentleman, Blake Gower, who was at a private equity group, and he said, you two should just meet. I just have a feeling you'll connect. So we connected. For 10 years straight, we would go to the same coffee shop right around June every single year.
That's awesome.
And didn't know what we were talking about. I just used it part of just my journey. And then after like 4 or 5 years, I said, well, he's got private equity, he's into things. Let me just start pitching him ideas and just learn my way through it. Fake it till you make it. So I pitched him probably 11 really bad ideas. 10 years later, Soccer Stars came up for sale. I heard about it through one of my other partners who's in the business, our CTO, told me that Soccer Stars had come up for sale, and my kids had gone through it first.
Oh, wow.
And so going through it, I immediately saw this was a first sport experience, right? It didn't matter whether or not they really like soccer. It was a gateway sport. And so with that experience, if the class was good and the coach was good, kids would love soccer, right? They were in it. But if it was bad, Mom, Dad, I've done it. I don't want to do it again. And so when that came about, I felt like something was in me where this was the one. This was the opportunity. And I was at a point where I was at this big company, and I realized big companies were not for me. And I was 40 years old, and it was time to bet on myself.
So you're at Everlast, right?
I'm sorry. At this point, I'd left Everlast. No problem. I'd left Everlast. I'd gone to Mission, and now I'm at Authentic Brands Group.
Got it.
So they're the second largest licensing company in the world right now. They own Reebok. They own Nautica. Tremendous brands. But big culture just wasn't for me. I couldn't impact enough, and I felt like I was very good. I could sell. I could do licensing deals. I could negotiate. But I wasn't doing any good in the world, right? And that's an experience you get to have every single day, right? I want to do well and do good.
Yeah.
And that purpose-driven was so important to me because I worked so hard that I wanted to have an impact on life. And, you get to that 40-year age, 40-year-old age, you want to make an impact in a different way. And when this came up, everything about it fell right. So I heard about it on a Friday. Within 3 days, I'd had my management team. We had raised capital, reached out to the founder. He was interested, had private equity group lined up 5 days later, and we were off to the races doing all this research and trying to figure it out. But you bring up this point. I made that jump. So at the time, I was still working. I was trying to see if I could acquire this company. At my current job, I was moving up the corporate ladder. They wanted to promote me, and I had this decision tree of, do I leave the job and go take a bet to try to close this thing out, or do I stay and just stay in the corporate world? And I made that leap.
Are you married at this point?
I'm still married at this point.
You're married, right? So we got to take that into the equation.
No, you're right.
What's your spouse thinking?
Yeah. And she knew my passions, and she knew how miserable I was at the current job of just the culture and just not having an impact. And so, she was extremely supportive. When you mentioned, I didn't think there was no question, right? She was in it with me, which is great. Yeah. And that's also, I think, part of the piece when you're an acquisition entrepreneur. There's income, there's security, there's something, there's base there, so you can have a salary and opportunity and really scale it. So that was probably, if it didn't have that security and it was from zero, she probably wouldn't have been as supportive.
So you're saying that the company was already established to the point where it had positive cash flow. You were just going to, I'm not saying plug yourself in, but there was income source for you immediately.
There was enough income between buying soccer stars and amazing athletes that we knew that I could have a support from a salary standpoint. My management team could be supported from a salary standpoint, but we were really betting on the future and how we could really build this thing.
So what stage was the business at when you took it over? So
when we bought Soccer Stars, it was just an operating company in 13 states, and then Amazing Athletes was a franchise company in about 30 states at the time. They had about 80 franchisees, and soccer was just operating. So we hadn't even started franchising soccer. And our thesis really at the time when we got into it was we knew nothing about the children's space. I mean, luckily you had grown up in it. You had an idea what we're getting into. We didn't. But we knew we had enough intellectual capital and financial capital and passion. And we just had this vision. We wanted a space where every kid's an athlete. They had fun while learning the fundamentals, and we wanted to be that foundational first sport experience. We figured if we did all those things, financially, whether we win or lose, we win in life. We're going to have an impact.
And now where are we?
So now, 7 years later, we've got Soccer Stars as franchise, Amazing Athletes franchise. We bought a third brand called TJ, which is tennis, golf, and pickleball. We have 250 amazing, wonderful franchise owners who are doing this for a living.
Combined
across all three brands.
Congratulations.
330 locations, 37 states. We impact almost 400,000 kids across the country with our educational sport curriculum. And we're doing everything we said we were going to do 7 years ago, which is a rarity, right? You have an idea where you want to start, but to see yourself get there with just great people, my partners are amazing, and in all the brands that we bought, the original team all stayed on, right? Because something I think you value a lot as much as I do is building that culture. And so we wanted to take all the goods and bads of every culture we saw and build a great culture. And so when you're buying a founder-run business, people were used to being led by somebody else. So they all stayed on. They saw a new path to accelerate. Your franchisees, who were all there under different leadership, they bought into our ideas and growth mindset and how to really scale and grow. And so that's probably what we're most proud of for at this point.
How'd you do that? How do you, there's so much in there, right? It's number one, taking a corporate driven company and turning it into a franchise. The franchise company is not easy by itself, so you really had to familiarize yourself with franchising.
Yep.
And then create a culture among really the platform as a whole.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot in there.
There's a lot. And we learned our way through it. I would say one thing that we learned anytime we went into this is change nothing and improve everything. Right? People are very scared of change. So the things that are important to you, leave them. But people wanted transparency, they wanted growth, they wanted opportunity. So we started to introduce those things slowly, but everything was a process. I think a lot of the time when you see companies go through acquisitions, the first thing you do is, well, these are the things that I want to do, so I'm port my will, right? And for us, it's we listen, we learn, and we just go at a pace to just improve things. And listen, there's going to be some change, right? People are going to have to get used to that change. And those who don't, we always say, if you want to be at a company or in a group where there are guardrails and you have to stay within those guardrails, you probably won't be successful here, right? But if you like entrepreneurship and you want an opportunity where you can make this your own and you can really scale with us, you're going to succeed, right? You're going to thrive. And so that's the culture really built. And it wasn't for everybody, but it was for most people that really wanted to grow, and that's what we were looking for.
And it was for you.
And it was for us.
Right? When we started franchising and people were giving me their advice on franchising and philosophies of, Richie, you guys really want to manage from afar and just give recommendations or suggestions. I was like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I have to give 100% of myself and pour into our franchise partners of what I've experienced and what I know for the last 31 years. And that was probably one of the best decisions that I've made in franchising of not being the norm.
Listen, I absolutely love that. I mean, I look at probably other CEOs or their management team, and they're just, I've heard from many times from certain CEOs and certain even franchise platforms, and the response is, if a franchisee hears from me, they know they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And to me, it's
horrible.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
It's not great. But for me, like I love talking to franchisees. Today, my best part about not only spending time with you is I got to spend time with 2 franchisees on the way here, right?
Awesome.
I met them over at Panera. We had lunch. We went through their business plan. How can we grow? And I love that part. I mean, I'm here with you because I want to impact more kids. I want more franchisees to be successful, and I want to partner with you. Yeah. Like I'll put the work in. I love it.
Today's one of the best days, right? When you can hit all of that.
All of that.
And it's all relationship building.
Yeah.
Right? And partnerships. That's why here we call our franchise partners our franchise partners, because I think that the language that you speak is how you'll behave. So that whole, we're the franchisor and you're the franchisee, to me immediately establishes a disconnect.
I totally agree. And I think what also is interesting for us is, as a management team, we get very involved in the business, and we also don't ask our franchisees to do anything we wouldn't do. So even though we had corporate territories, we refranchised some, we're always going to have corporate territories. We don't ask our franchisee to do one program, one thing that we haven't tested, learned, pilot ourselves.
I love that.
And listen, I will go out and do sales. I will do operations. I'll go deliver balls or equipment to a coach if I need to. And I think it's important for franchisees to see that from the executive team, from the leadership, that we're in it with them.
Yeah, totally. Right? I to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever met anybody that has aligned with the way we act yet. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Where'd you get, where is that just, do you think that's just your culture and the way you're wired personally?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, and again, watching some of the founders, and I think one of the things that we really learned is there's some of the founders that we acquired, and there's this founder's mentality of, it's if I didn't come up with it, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing we do is we kind of have this not invented here. Like we want some of our best ideas to come from franchisees.
Yeah.
It's like one of the martial arts curriculum that we were launching, Karate Zoo, which we were talking about, that actually came from a franchisee. One of the franchisees said, listen, there's a big demand for martial arts. One of my coaches actually has a martial arts background. We want to help develop the curriculum with you. We said, great. So now that franchisee is actually developed the curriculum with us. That franchisee is training other franchisees. They're talking about everything that we're doing. And so we created that culture. I don't know where it come from. I've never had ego. My team's never had ego. I surrounded myself with those people. And we just love getting our hands dirty. We love being in it with everybody.
Yeah, and it's exciting and fun, and you're making a difference, making an impact. Everything we talked about. Is the karate piece, is that separate? Is that another franchise aspect, or is it under the same umbrella?
So it's under Amazing Athletes. So under a couple of our brands, we try to give those franchisees, Amazing Athletes really is this multi-sport educational sport program. And so we found that martial arts was something that was of high demand, and it complemented what a lot of those franchisees were already doing. It tended to be really strong in the educational, in the childcare space. So it just felt like a good complement. So let them get after it and let them succeed. And it's just been a wonderful program. That's one of our fastest growing programs in the company.
Yeah, and excuse me for not understanding fully, but so if you go into a celebrity school, you may go to a celebrity school, and those children have an opportunity to do karate and
Amazing Athletes
and other sports.
So Amazing Athletes is our multi-sport curriculum. So we try to teach a different sport every single week, different sport skill.
Okay.
So they're learning food groups, muscle groups, and then a different sport skill. So we might teach football one week, soccer another week, and it's all about motorsport development. And the real key to the whole thing, and we were talking about your kids earlier, the experience that we want kids collectively, like Celebrity and Youth Athletes United, is we want them in this unintentional play space. We want them trying everything. We want parents to expose kids to as many sports as possible, and then by the age of 5 or 6,
they can pick.
That's intentional play. They make the decision. And if we can just give them the path to lead them down a path where they can make the decision on their own, they'll stay in the sport, they'll be happier, and also it becomes a habit, right? Which is really what we're trying to create. We're trying to create those foundational habits, those healthy habits for kids.
So when you say every child's an athlete, like I don't think every child believes that, right? I don't think every child believes they're an athlete. What do you mean by that statement?
We want to give them that physical literacy, right? We want them to have fun, but get that physical literacy to learn how to hit a baseball, how to hit a tennis racket, how to kick a soccer ball. If we just do those basic things, every kid's an athlete, right? And they just have fun while learning. And if you do it early enough, it's not about skill-based, right? It's about celebration, right? It's about everything you go through in your preschool education. It's about celebrating just those milestones and those achievements. That makes you an athlete. And that's what we need to, and build that confidence. That's what we need to do with our kids at that age.
Yeah, totally. The sports is so much just like early education and as a whole.
100%.
Right? It's not about whether they get it or not at that early age. It's whether or not they're introduced to it.
They're introduced to it and have a positive experience, right?
Yeah.
That positive experience is everything. I mean, your kids that went through lacrosse, if they don't have a positive experience early on, it impacts them. But then after that, it's positive coaching experiences, teaching experiences, right? Which we instill in our coaches, you instill in your teachers. Like you remember, if you had a great preschool teacher, elementary school, you'll remember that teacher for that positive experience. You may not remember everything they taught you, but remember that person and that impact. Yeah. And that's really important.
You remember how he or she made you feel.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Did they? I mean, it was Miss Miller for me, and it was. She made me feel like she cared about me.
Yeah.
And she wanted to give me the best opportunity in that class, and she really wanted me to succeed.
Yep. It was Mrs. Talley for me.
Really?
I remember my preschool teacher.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what about the coaches? What tell us a little bit about the role of the coaches here, or instructors.
Yeah, so the coaches are so instrumental, and the biggest thing is we don't care if the coaches are athletes or soccer players or martial artists. We care about their ability to be enrichment experts. Can they connect with kids? Can they bring fun and imaginative play? Because if we come in and we're teaching multi-sport, soccer, pickleball, whatever it may be, kids don't want to, at that point in time, they don't want to be instructed, right? So we teach them they're learning with imaginative play. They don't even realize they're learning, right? And so that's really what we focus on. So it's about having high energy, high fun, and just connectivity with those kids. And then we've got a really well-built curriculum that they're building all these building blocks to focus on motor skill development, vestibular skills, and just really building that whole child.
I can't believe you're stealing like the old people's sport. I mean, when you leave pickleball,
it's so great.
Where pickleball belongs. I mean, I'm thinking, man, if I started playing pickleball at the age of 4, by the time I'm 50 or 60, they don't have a chance.
It's so much fun. And I think what we're also seeing is this great engagement between parent and me, right? Like that is just one of those sports where we can see the parent and child really engaging together. It doesn't matter age and stage. So we really love seeing that. We really love seeing that together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Huh. So where are you guys headed? What's the plan for 3 or 5 or as an entrepreneur? Where's this company going?
For us, there's a couple things we want to accomplish. One is we love building our franchisee base because they can do well and do good. And, really money is just a byproduct of have a really great impact, through our educational sport program. So we've got, call it 250 franchise owners now. We wanted to get to 500,000. Right, that's
500,000.
500. Sorry, I got excited.
Wow.
500. Sorry.
500.
500, okay. And really, just can we have more impact just on franchise owners?
Yeah.
We want to impact 1 million kids through our system. Right now, we're at about 400,000, and just with these educational sport programs. And I think at some point we'll really marry kind of sports and education, and I think we have a really good viewpoint of, how can kids do what we do between, multi-sport soccer, maybe we had dance, lacrosse, basketball, a few of those other sports, but also bring in science, bring in chess, bring in robotics, and really find a way to marry those two things together because they're inextricably linked, sports and education. And that's where we really see ourselves in the next 3 to 5 years of just 1 million kids through our system, a trusted brand. So as they go through Celebrate, they know they're getting good education. If they go through any one of our programs, Youth Athletes United, they know they're getting a quality curriculum. It's been vetted, approved by people like yourself and Celebrate, and walidated. And that's what we want across our curriculums. And really that first sport experience is the center, the nexus of what we focus on.
So what's the profile? Who are you looking for as a franchise partner?
So the first thing, it's a passion play. If they're not passionate about positively impacting their community through sports, it's wrong for them, right? We say, maybe there's other brands for you. But if you're passionate about it and you have a growth mindset, because money is important only because the more money they make, the more kids we impact, right? So if you're driven to want to impact and have a big business, those are the types of people we're looking for. So sometimes it's husbands and wives, sometimes the educators. We find a lot of people in sales and marketing. It's really more the personal profile versus what they've done in the past.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is, and you get it, they've got to be able to build a culture because as they grow, they have a lot of instructors or teachers. And so if they can't motivate those coaches, those instructors to be there and have fun doing what they're doing, that's their product, right? They can't coach all the classes.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to build that culture as well.
So as a franchise partner, how many coaches would I be responsible for?
Yeah. So at scale, you could have anywhere between 10 to 50 coaches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really that big because, during the day, we're working at childcare centers.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, we're working at elementary schools. On the weekends, we're working at parks and rec or city parks. We're running summer camps throughout the summer. And so you have a population of almost 400,000. So they're really big territories. And it's really just a matter of the number of locations you have. And if you also think about it, during the week, you're going to the different child cares in the schools. You're going where the parents are. But on the weekends, you're running public programs. And so you want the parents to come to you. And if you're not within 15 to 20 minutes of that parent with a 2-year-old, they're not coming to your class. Right? They're just not. Right? So it's all about locations and kind of being where the customers are. That's why we love being in childcare because we know the kids are there, know the audience, and we know if we have a good partner like Celebrate, we know the kids are going to be well behaved. They're going to want to learn, and we're just getting the right profile for the kids that we know we can impact.
Right. So, and you also know that those schools are in the right demographics.
They're in the right demographics
that you're looking for. Because for us, I think it's 2,500 children within a 3-mile radius.
Right.
Right. So what's the age groups?
So we go as young as 18 months, 12 to 18 months. So we start at tots. And, again, real motor skill development. It's fun. It's a little bit of music and movement, and it's great. And then we go all the way up to about 14 years old across all the brands right now.
Wow. So what sport is the 18-month-old playing?
So we do soccer and we do amazing athletes.
Really?
So in soccer, it's just really easy. We've got some really good kind of fundamentals and your early soccer balls, and they're just learning those basic skills, and tend to be parent and me, or if they're in the childcare space, it's tots with the teachers. And then amazing athletes, same thing. Instead of having 10 sports, it's 5 sports. We're not focused on the stick sports, just the ball sports, and just having some fun with some basic motor skill movement.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here shaking my head, dude. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Seriously, congratulations. I could see it in your face. I can see it in your, and I can hear it in your voice. I mean, you're passionate about this, and you're
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we want to do this for another 10, 20 years. It's not a job anymore. And I think when we talked about it earlier, maybe that's part of what was important for me is I didn't want to have a job anymore. I wanted to have a vision and mission, right? Like, you've always known, right, what your vision and mission is. And I kind of found my way through it, and it's just kind of crazy. I was in all these different sports companies and learning all these things, and they all led me to this. It's the perfect job for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a sports background. I have an exercise science degree, which I never knew I'd use it for. And I think I have just the right personal acumen and touch with people in the business. And I have great partners who have that same feeling and motivation. And so it's never about me. It's about our team. And so that's just, it all just fell into place for me.
And you're helping people become entrepreneurs.
Helping people become entrepreneurs through such a great, I mean, whether it's education or sports, like we are both at that early stage of impacting kids.
Yeah.
And we think about what our kids are having to go through today, right? They're in this digital generation where they're not watching TV anymore.
Right.
An algorithm is serving them up content.
Right.
And they get fixated on it.
Yeah.
So now our jobs are in real life to be as exciting, give them that same dopamine rush and effect and have that impact. And so if that's what we're doing collectively between education and sport, we should feel good about what we're doing for the next generation.
Totally. Well, Adam, listen, I'm super proud and blessed to be a partner of you guys, and I hope you feel the same way.
100%. This is great. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, listen, I've been excited to meet you. I've heard amazing things about you, so this is as much a pleasure for me.
I appreciate you, brother.
You too.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to Enrich Your Empire. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Richie Huffman Celebrate. We've got more great episodes lined up for you, so check back with us soon. Until then, stay inspired, stay driven, and keep building your empire.